guys, it's me Melanie, and today I'm going to be doing my mid-year wrap-up. I'm a bit squished in here with all these books, so let me move them to the side a bit. The stack is shaky. So I am basically just going to go through and tell you guys every book I've read so far and tell you whether I recommend it or not. My goal for 2023 is 50 books. I am at 25. It's July 10th now, so I am like one book behind. But I'd say I'm doing pretty good. Last year, I think I read 36 books, so I feel like my pace is pretty good. I've been really busy this summer. I'm taking classes, so I haven't been able to get like ahead as I thought I would, but it's alright. So I am going to use my Goodreads, so if you see me looking at my phone, that's what it's for. I'm just going to go through this so I can tell you guys the ratings, because I don't remember a lot of these. I read a very long time ago. So we are just going to start with the first book that I read, and that is The Summer of Broken Rules. So this book is about a girl who goes to Martha's Vineyard for the summer, and it kind of has multiple layers though, because she is dealing with grief as she's lost her sister, and it's also a romance. It's a fun book. I did rate it 4 stars. But I will say this isn't like my favorite book ever. I do get the hype around it. It was fun. I do recommend it, but it wasn't like my favorite romance I've ever read. And for me, I didn't really like how the relationship progressed so quickly. I felt like it was a bit like less meaningful, but that was just my opinion. I think a lot of people would love this book. The next book I read was And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. I gave this book 4 stars also. This is a really good mystery. I feel like it's one of those things you might guess like a couple things, but you're not going to guess the entire mystery. But to be honest, I like don't remember the ending now. It was good, but it wasn't my favorite mystery. I do recommend it though. The next book I read, which I don't have with me, is Daisy Jones and the Six. I'm lending this to a friend right now, and this was my first 5-star of the year. I absolutely loved this book. I highly recommend it, and I highly recommend the TV series. It's just about a band, and I think it's like based off of Fleetwood Mac, which I love Fleetwood Mac, so for me this was a major hit. So the next books I read I don't have, and I actually have like 4 of these, and they're kind of split up, but they're all part of a series, so I'm going to talk about them at once, and that is Defy Me, Reveal Me, Imagine Me, and Believe Me. So those are the last 4 books from the Shatter Me series, and I think I gave all of them roughly 3 stars. I'm not the biggest fan of the Shatter Me series. I know it has a lot of hype surrounding it, but for me it was like a little more of a miss. And so I think by this point in the series too, I was just like so far over it. So I give it 3. I don't think they're bad books, but they just weren't for me. As far as recommendation, I don't think I personally recommend it, but I know that so many people do. So I guess it just kind of depends on what you like. The next book I have is Archer's Voice. I gave this book 4 stars, but I think it was more like a 4.5. I really loved this. I'm kind of picky when it comes to romance books, because I don't like it if it feels like the relationship progresses too fast, or like they haven't like gotten to know each other very well. But I really loved this. It's about 2 people who have like very messed up pasts, and just kind of like how they come together, and their communication skills were so good with each other, like understanding each other. And I'm not referring to the fact that Archer can't speak, which you find out, it's not really a spoiler. When I say their communication skills, I'm not referring to like that. I mean more just the way that they interact with each other. I think is so sweet and wholesome. So I really do love this book, and I do recommend it. The next book I have is Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. I gave this book 4 stars as well. I do recommend this book. It is kind of like a psychological thriller, I think. I did not guess the ending to this. I don't really, with thrillers, I don't like to like give a whole lot of context because I feel like it takes away from it, but I do recommend it. Also, the next book I have here is The Silent Patient, and if you have read one of these and you haven't read the other, I highly recommend, because I kind of feel like they have a similar vibe, and like when you get to the plot twist, I feel like you'll understand what I'm talking about, and I really recommend them. I like both of these a lot, so I recommend both of these. I did give The Silent Patient 4 stars as well, or 4.5 according to my Goodreads. So I prefer this book, but I love them both. Next book I read is My Favorite Color Is You, and this is a book I received as an ARC, and I was so grateful to the author because this is the first ARC I've ever received, which I think is so cool. I unfortunately didn't really like the book. I gave it 2 stars. I think that it just needed like a lot more editing done, and it is a romance. Like I said, I'm already picky with romances, so I think that's like a bit of a disadvantage for that book. Next book I have is Little Fires Everywhere. I have the TV cover, which makes me sad because I'll put the regular cover up here, it's a lot cuter. But this book I gave 3 stars. I originally gave it 3.5, but I was going back through and like amending my ratings today just to reflect how I feel now, like looking back on all the books. And I did bump this down to 3. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not a book that I think about very often. I don't feel like it was, like, if I could go back, I wouldn't necessarily read it again. But I like it. I think that if you're someone who likes, like, literary fiction, or you don't really care so much for a romance or anything like that, you just want to read a book about interesting people who kind of have, like, some weird things going on, it's a good book. It wasn't my favorite, but I do recommend it depending on, like, your preference. The next book I have is Ariadne. And this book I recommend so much. I love this book. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. It's one of those books where like it really could be a 5-star, but it didn't necessarily give me like the 5-star feeling, but I still loved it so much. It has like a kind of lower rating on Goodreads, which I like totally disagree with. I thought this was one of the best books I've read this year. It is a Greek mythology retelling, and it was amazing. It kind of has like feminist themes. It wasn't like over the top in any way. I just thought they did it perfectly. Nothing was like forced. I felt like everything just like made sense. It was perfect. Maybe I should give it 5 because like I really love this book, but I don't know. Now I'm rambling, so we're gonna move on. The next book I read was The Alchemist, which this is a book I originally gave 4 stars. I just bumped it down to 3. Nothing wrong with this book, just again, it's kind of like with Little Fires Everywhere. I don't really think about it. I don't really like care a bunch about it. I think that if you're someone who likes to like question things or like think about right from wrong type stuff, I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like you would enjoy this. So I think this is a good book. I recommend it. Maybe if you're like a very like scholarly person, you might like this. I didn't dislike it. It's really easy to read and understand. It just like wasn't really my thing, but the cover is really pretty, so that is actually why I bought it. I read this and Ariadne for a video where I like picked out my TBR based on book covers, and I loved these book covers. It's just fun because you can kind of see there's like a similar color theme. But anyway, so we had a hit and a semi-hit. Next book I have is Big Summer. And this book, I don't even know like what genre to put in. It's kind of just fiction. I think it might be considered like women's fiction, but it kind of has romance and mystery and just like general like drama. And I really loved this. I gave it 5 stars. I highly recommend it. I've never seen anyone talk about this, but I thought it was amazing. I just picked it up at like a used bookstore because I've seen the cover so many times in the store, and I was like, I want to read that, I want to read that, I want to read that, but I never heard anyone talk about it. So I never picked it up, but I'm really glad I did because it actually might be my favorite book I've read this year, or like top 3. So it's really, really good. If you're planning like a beach trip and you need some fun like beach reads, this is a good one. Next I read Redeeming Love. This is a romance, and I actually also gave this 5 stars. This is my favorite romance that I read this year. So this is one of my favorite romance books. It is Christian, so it does have like religious themes, which for me I appreciate. I know like some people that's up their alley, other people it's not. I thought it was really good if you want a romance that's like very like wholesome. Well, actually I don't know if I'd say wholesome. The romance is wholesome, but the story isn't. There's a lot of like bad things that happen within the story, but the romance is like so just amazing and cute. And also, there's no spice. So if you're into no spice like I am, you might love this book. So I do recommend it. And I also think that if you're not religious, you could still enjoy this book. It's not, I don't feel like it would take away from that, but you might feel a bit like confused or like find it kind of strange, I guess. But I still recommend it to anyone. The next book I read, I actually don't have anymore, because I gave it 2 stars and I got rid of it like pretty much right after I read it. I put it in a little free library because it just wasn't like something I would really need on my shelves. And this is Paris for One, and this is like one big story, and then the second half of the book is a collection of like short stories, and they're all romances, I think. And I didn't really care for the first story, which was Paris for One, and that was about like 100 pages, I think. I felt like there was just no depth to it, which, I mean, I guess that's kind of what you sign up for when you get a 100-page book. But it just wasn't my thing. I didn't like it. One of the short stories I remember liking, but I don't even remember what it was about. I just know I liked it. So that kind of tells you all you need to know. I gave it 2 stars. I don't recommend it. The next book I read was Six of Crows. This book I gave 4 stars. I'm holding upside down. This book I gave 4 stars, and I really liked it. I do recommend it, and I will say that if you read this, especially if you're not like a big fantasy reader and you're not used to reading fantasy, give it like 200 pages, which I know is asking a lot. It is quite long. I think it's like close to 500 pages. I'm not the best at reading fantasy. A lot of it like kind of goes over my head. I get confused. And I feel like this is one, like, I definitely felt confused, but if you like trust the process, I think you'll end up loving it, because a lot of it I was just like, what's happening? It kind of put me in a book slump. But then once I got like past the halfway mark, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then I immediately bought the second book, which I have yet to read. But anyways, I do recommend it. Just kind of like be aware that you're getting yourself into a book that's not going to be the easiest book you've ever read. The next books I'm going to talk about kind of bring us up to present day. So all of these I've read like pretty much in the last month and a half. And so that is going to be the first 2 books from the Percy Jackson series, the first 2 books from the Harry Potter series, and the first 2 books from the Hunger Games series. So I'll talk about these individually, but I did a video, which I will link, where I basically reread my childhood favorites, which was these 3 series, and in that video I just did the first 3 books, but I've been continuing the series, and actually finished Mockingjay last night. I love all these series. Every book I've read so far has been 5 stars out of all 3, so I'm sure you guys know what they all are, so I'm not going to give a synopsis, but I guess basically I would just say I do recommend them all. I gave 5 stars to both of these. I will say I think these are probably tailored most towards younger kids. Out of the 3, I would say I like enjoyed these the least, but that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy them. I still loved them very dearly, and I think that they do get bonus points for being like nostalgic. So that is how I felt about those. Harry Potter, oops, I threw the book at myself. This series out of the 3 has been my favorite to get back into. So good. 5 stars, like 6-star series, just has the best vibes, so cozy. Love these. And then the Hunger Games series I have loved so much more than I did as a kid. It has been so fun to get back into it. And so I really enjoyed these. I finished this book last night, and I'm starting Mockingjay now so that I can finish this series. Or I guess it's not even finished because they came out with the 4th one, but I don't really know what that book is about, so maybe I'll get into that after. But these are both 5 stars as well. I think that Catching Fire I might like more than the Hunger Games, but they both are amazing. And then I just have one more book. This one is a Christian nonfiction book, and this is called Life in the Combat Zone. I gave this 3 stars. I got this book for free actually at a coffee shop. There's like a Christian coffee shop near me, and they give out free books sometimes. So anyway, I've been reading this like over the course of a few months, and I think that it's good but not great. I think that some of the advice or like things that it talks about, hello, can you guys see my cat? I don't know. Anyways, I'm not sure if she's in frame, but she's kind of just come in here. Anyways, I think it's good, but it does get like pretty repetitive, so I feel like maybe if it was like cut down like 50 to 100 pages, I would have given it like 4 or maybe even like 4.5 stars, because I think a lot of what it has to say is really good. It just gets to be like, okay, can we get through it, like please. And I do really like the kind of history. I think if you're someone who is Christian but also really is into history, I think you would enjoy this book because it talks a lot about Roman history and kind of like practices and things like that. The history is not necessarily about the history of Christianity, it's about the history of Rome, and then how that can be like an analogy for your faith. I hope that made sense. That might have been a bad explanation, but I gave it 3 stars. I think it's good. I think that if you see it for free at a coffee shop, I definitely recommend picking it up, like why not? But I wouldn't say it's like the most life-changing, crazy book I've ever seen, but if you're a big history junkie, I do recommend it. So that was all the books I've read. It's kind of, let's see, I don't know if I already said, I've read 25 so far. I'm hoping to get to 50 by the end of the year, so we'll see if I hit that goal. I really do think I will. I think that's pretty much it. I just want to show you guys my cat real quick, because she's being really funny. Aw, she stopped right when she always like lays there like a little like dead cockroach, which kind of makes me laugh. But anyways, I hope I'm still in frame, like, good. But anyways, so I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, I would really appreciate it if you would leave a like, subscribe. You can leave me a comment about any books that I should get to in the remainder of the year. I am open to suggestions, especially if you see one on my like crazy TBR cart back here. Don't know if y'all can see that, but I have a lot of books on my physical TBR, so if there's one on here that you're like, you need to read that right now, let me know and maybe I'll get to it sooner. And thank you guys for watching. I will see y'all next time. Bye.